Well, that's a look from 300 feet up. A little bit of cumulus dotting the skies, and aside from that, that's about it. It's been very quiet here in Texas today. Let's take a look at the surface map. This is how it looks this afternoon. We've got that cold front in the northern Rockies slowly sinking south. We can see it there just past Salt Lake City, coming up on Denver, just past Cheyenne, and behind it some snow showers in the higher elevations. Out ahead of it, some very mild weather in Nevada, southwestern Utah, lots of 60s in that area. Also got some mild conditions there in Arizona, 81 there at Phoenix. And looking out in Texas, it is quiet. We've got the remnants of that polar high across East Texas there. And we don't see the dry line just yet. Dew points all the way down in South Texas are still in the 40s. Now we can probably see something coming together in this area, but it's just not quite there yet. Give it another day or two, and I think we will see that dry line starting to make an appearance. It's pretty quiet on the satellite imagery too, except for Utah, Nevada, and northwest Colorado. Lots of towering cumulus in that area. And when you get a little further north, you can start picking out the anvils. There they are right there. So that's a clear indication of snow showers, and looks like some of the heavier elements up there at the very top in Idaho. Maybe we'll be able to come back to that when we go to the northwest U.S. In Texas, yeah, a little instability right there. Pretty close to that low pressure area. But we can see that there's not much moisture to drive that. Lots of 20s and 30s dew points in that area. Well, in the southeastern U.S., that front is pushed all the way down into Florida. Got that squall line right along it. There it is around the, Daytona Beach and Orlando area. It's probably a little bit hard to read the map since the pressures are kind of weak. The isobars don't seem to make a whole lot of sense, but if we draw out the wind field, we can see things are dominated by that high pressure area there in Arkansas. So that is by far the most dominant feature. And then we've got this I'll draw this in red, very small high pressure area in North Carolina. So those are the two main systems, and in between it, just kind of a trough right there in South Carolina. There's the satellite imagery. Looks like that's probably kind of a stretch to call it a squall line. I do see discrete elements. There's some right there, others right there. So it is a little bit broken up. But the main axis right there, and looks like another axis just off the coast of the Carolinas right there. And looks like a little bit of a cold air advection band working in through the Lexington, Paducah, and Cincinnati area. Well, not much to talk about in the northeast U.S. Looks like it's cold once again. And I went ahead and drew that cold air advection trough right there, moving through Pittsburgh and Paducah, Louisville. Some snow showers and rain showers along it. And that's it for the northeast U.S., just the Great Lakes. Getting a little bit of lee side snow on the east side of the lakes. And high pressure area moving in, so we should see the weather start to improve over the eastern U.S. as that high kind of expands southeast. There's the picture across the northwestern U.S. Dominant feature is this large Canadian high pressure area. That's going to push a lot of cold air into the central plains. Also a lot of it going into the central Rockies and the Great Basin area. You can see those northerly winds back there in Idaho and Oregon, with the exception of this area right here, eastern Idaho, some southerly winds. And I think there might be a little circulation right here, possibly an old occlusion. We'll see if we can figure that out on the satellite. There's a little trough feature. Let's check that out on the satellite. Yeah, there it is. If you look at the wider shades, these are going to be some of the mid and high clouds. There's a lot of it right there, and this is kind of painting out sort of like a little S shape there I think that's some of the upper level forcing, probably a shortwave working through this area and helping to generate some lift and some convergence at the surface right in that area. And that's pretty stout, and I would expect that to move down into Wyoming. So probably some worsening conditions down in the south part of that state. And there's a radar site we never look at, Pocatello, Idaho. Well, there's that convection there just west of Pocatello. Doesn't look very organized. Just kind of looks like a large cold pool driving this convection. But I'd imagine down along this interstate right here, probably a very impressive view looking to the north. Well, there's conditions in Europe, lots of high pressure, centered all the way from, looks like Croatia up to Germany. Outgoing baroclinic system moving into Turkey, and we've got this old front which is falling apart there. Looks like a new system there in Algeria coming together. You can see some maybe 10-degree differences across the system. The Mediterranean does tend to be a little bit stormy this time of year, so that may move out there into the Mediterranean later. We've had this persistent cutoff low off the coast of Portugal there. I don't see any baroclinicity in that looking at the thickness chart. So that's pretty much a similar system to what you often see there in California. And then up to the north, pretty calm conditions there in the UK, but a very powerful frontal system up there in Sweden and Norway. Very stormy, just north of Oslo up towards, I guess that would be Bergen. Anyway, that's the Europe analysis there. All right, let's take a look at that forecast, looking at the 500 millibar heights and vorticity. So this is going to be the mid-levels of the troposphere. Very high amplitude pattern, very strong ridge going up to Alaska and all the way back down towards Texas. So this means a lot of movement of air masses north and south, very stormy pattern, and a little bit of a blocking pattern there in the Pacific, though it's probably going to be broken down by this next wave coming in. Let's see what happens over the next few days. Well, we've got this jet streak coming down through Oregon, so that's probably partly driving that system there in Idaho. Anyway, that's going to move south and then east into Colorado and Kansas, and then another piece of that system going through California. So looks like more unsettled weather going into the weekend. You can see that with that block, we don't really break down that ridge, and we stay in this northwesterly flow in much of the U.S. And the flow is split. There's that southern part down there near the Mexican border, bringing in energy and moisture from the southwest, and then this other part of the split way up there, bringing in cold air at the surface. A lot of our cold air masses kind of link up with those upper level patterns and move southeast. In the wintertime, this often means a lot of winter weather east of the Rockies. Well, it's not winter, so the Gulf of Mexico is dominant. A lot of moisture and warmth driving north. So instead of snow and overcast, we tend to get unsettled weather, sometimes low ceilings and rain in West Texas. And we can tend to get a lot of embedded storms and squall lines if there's enough forcing. So we run that forward. We're stuck in the blocking pattern all the way through the weekend. And it just keeps trying to hang on there going into Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Couple waves moving through the southern stream right there. So those will bring increasing chances of rain to the Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona area. And then let's see. Yeah, that's about it until this next big wave moves in. This is going to be late next week, 24th, 25th. And then the pattern kind of de-amplifies a little bit, goes more zonal, and combines mostly into a single jet there. So that should cause things to quiet down just a little bit. And with this ridge coming in from the west, that probably means a little bit of fair weather for the southern U.S. Active in the Central Plains, though, few good days, and then looks like I can see on that very last frame, looks like some height falls starting right in that area. So I would think first week in May should start to see increasing thunderstorm chances in the Great Plains. But for now, we're just going to focus on the next 3 days. For this evening, well, this is pretty cut and dry. There's that front right there. A little bit of enhanced snow showers in, southwest Wyoming, kind of like what we expected, with that upper level wave coming in. Frontal system continues moving south through northern Florida, and in between, just lots of high pressure across the Midwest and Mississippi River Valley. For tomorrow morning, looks like that snow spreads eastward into Nebraska. Looks like Denver gets a little bit of that. And then towards evening, that front starts moving south through the Great Plains. There's that leading edge all the way back to the Four Corners, and looks like it's coming up on Las Vegas there. So there's the front. Very strong isentropic lift up there in Iowa. A little bit of upper level support, I'm sure, also. So it looks like maybe some heavy snow there for Des Moines. So that's going to be tracking eastward. So overnight, looks like some snow there in Chicago early on Friday. Front moves into Texas and Oklahoma. By evening, we've got our main system up there in Pennsylvania. Snow for upstate New York. Tail end of the front all the way down to Houston and San Antonio, and looks like that back edge right here in West Texas, so we'll probably see a little bit of that upslope start developing in the Big Bend and far west Texas. And for our last frame for Saturday, looks like a little bit of a break with that weather. Here comes the next little Alberta Clipper coming south. That's just kind of a quick overview of the fronts. Very large, well, not very large, but very expansive cold air mass up there, driven by that Hudson Bay vortex. And in Texas, we see a change. Remember, we had that front that was kind of getting hung up on the mountains of northwest Mexico and New Mexico. Looks like that's lifting north. Not sure exactly where that is. I would probably guess maybe, try that again. Maybe something like that. In fact, I can see a little bit of that rain developing just north of the warm front. A little bit of lift. And that's about it for the weekend. So it looks pretty quiet, but I think things will get active once again for this next air mass coming southeast. Okay, thank you all for watching. That's about all I got for this evening, so take care and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.